Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi with Star Nations Organization, and we are live streaming on our main fan page and Facebook. That is the Star Nations Magazine, Radio Network, and Publishing fan page. But we also have to include the Academy in there. Can't forget the Academy. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning, May 16th. I always have to kind of stop and think a bit what day it is. Good morning, Elise Miller. So glad you could join me this morning. I keep saying this almost every day since I've been doing the card draws on live stream, is that it's another gorgeous day here in Tomah, Wisconsin. It is sunshiny, blue skies, and gorgeous out. Gorgeous. Can't complain. Not going to even start that because you know what? In about six months we'll be having really cold weather again. This morning I wanted to make sure I made good on a promise that I made yesterday. Yesterday the card had been about powwow, and I had shared about my early days of competition dancing and shawls, and I said, I should have brought a shawl with me to show you guys, and so I did. I brought two this morning to show you, and one of them is the one that I use most often, and the other one, I don't know, maybe you guys have seen it on Facebook. It is the profile. My profile has that pink shawl, so I brought that with me. So. Yeah. Hi, Elise. Good to see you in the chat room. Yay. I'm going to go get the shawls. They're hanging right over there, so hold on. All right. So this one, I'm right here. This one, let me see how I can do this so you guys can actually see it. This is my Pendleton shawl, and Pendleton is a brand, is a company that is 100 and something years old. They deal with wool more often than not. You can get all kinds of blankets from them, from the big St. Joseph Pendletons with the Native American design on them, to horse blankets and shawls. Oh, and other things you can get. You can also buy suits from them, women's suits and that kind of thing. But anyway, this is my typical dance shawl, and I love the colors in it. I got this particular shawl in Oklahoma. We were at the Red Earth Powwow, which is the second largest powwow in the United States, and we went to the vendors, of course. Got to go shopping. And I found this shawl. Good morning, Carol. So glad you could see us. Aw, nice to see your happy face, and your shawl is beautiful. Thank you. And I just wanted to show you that this is, you can definitely tell that it's manufactured, by the fringe, because the fringe comes on a, it's tacked down right along here. And so it's very uniform, right? And what they do is they stitch it onto the cloth. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is the underside. And so it's a very finished look. Yeah, I love the colors on this. And the blue. The Potawatomis, we put the blue, that dark shade of blue in the west. That's why the door here on the Academy has kind of that electric blue, because the door faces west, and in honor of the Ho-Chunk relatives, my grandma, we also painted the trim black. Now the Ho-Chunk, they're relatives to the Oceti-Sakowin, the Great Sioux Nation. They're cousins, so to speak. And this is my pink shawl. As you can tell, I like bright colors, right? It's kind of fuchsia, and it's got a design on it, applique design. Right? And This fringe, can you see the difference? This fringe is hand tied. They take long, long, long amounts of fringe, and they use a needle and they poke the hole through the material. And it's a little bit like macrame in a way, and they tie the knots. This is a very similar way that my mom does the fringe on her shawls. It's a little bit fancier that she does, a little bit more knotting and that kind of thing. But this is machine stitch too. You can tell with the stitching there and the stitching around the applique, like a serger for those who sew. And so this is one of my happy shawls. This was gifted to me by one of my teachers years ago, and out in California. And those are my two favorite ones. Both of them I use to dance with. I have a couple other ones. I have like a dark navy blue plain that I wear to funerals. And I also have another wool one that doesn't have any fringe on it. It's very, it goes back, to the memories of before sewing machines and all of that, and I should probably bring that one up because it reminds me of my ancestors from the 17 and 1800s, actually. So, and I wear that one with my medicine dress. So those are my shawls. I know. And I did listen to powwow music yesterday when I got back. It was kind of funny because the people who helped me clean my house, they were there, and I came in and I turned on the stereo and had powwow. This is the first time they've ever heard powwow music. And so it was kind of fun. It was kind of like a teaching moment all morning long, practically. So, welcome everybody. Good morning to you all. And for those who are just joining us, I appreciate you being here with us. This morning's card draw, it was a little busy this morning. Mom had kind of a bad night and a lot of pain, and so we were dealing with that this morning, and so it was busy in that way, not like Grand Central Station, but busy that way. And by the time I got done with helping her, my husband had gotten home from work, and so it was trying to find a quiet moment with two people trying to talk to me at the same time. That kind of busy. So anyway, I excused myself and I said I have to go do this, and went and took a few minutes to do the card draw. And I had to do a short, very, very short meditation just to get myself settled, grounded, balanced to do the card draw. And using the imagery, bringing those images that I love of Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky, and bringing them to me, and taking some deep breaths and bringing in that universal energy. And so, it took a couple minutes, but, it was, by the time I felt calmer, more centered, I did the card draw. And this is the card that came up. Now, we've had this card before. This is Medicine Bowl, and it's about healing. And try not to get the glare in there. The Medicine Bowl. And we had this a few days ago. The Medicine Bowl, according to Jamie Sams, is normally wooden, and it's used by both healers and seers. In many of the indigenous cultures, they're medical people, they're healers, they're herbalists. They understand spirit, and they work with energy too, but in a different way. They work with the plant medicine and the helping spirits, the doctor spirits, right? And so their role is just a little bit different when they're working with spirit. And the medicine bowl is used by both the herbalist healer and also the seer, the the person who travels in those medicine journeys, some might call them shamanic journeys, and that wooden bowl right there would be used by both of them. There are some native cultures that use an earthenware bowl, but generally it is wooden, and it's passed down from one generation to another. So the energy, the life of the bowl is still vibrant, right? And so it's passed down from one generation to another. Not necessarily from family member to family member, although that can happen. Many times it's from one medicine person to another, one holy person to another. And so that the energy of the bowl gets carried forward with the people. Because both healers, the herbalist and the seer, are there on behalf and for the people. Not for themselves, but for the people. And not necessarily for the formal leaders. They're there for the people. All right, so now I'm going to refresh your memory about the medicine bowl and what Jamie Sams has to say about it. She says the medicine bowl is a traditional tool used by the seers, dreamers, and medicine people of Native America. The bowl can be several hundred years old and carry the strengths or the weaknesses of its former guardians. There's usually two different kind of bowls. One is the working bowl. That's the one that they use in when they're doing the healings, when they're doing the journey work. And there's the second bowl, which is more decorative, and that is the one that the public sees. That's the one they bring out when they do a public ceremony. The other one is very plain and not ornate in any way. It is the one that is passed down from generation to generation. Okay. So the bowl, when it's used by the seer, from what Jamie Sam says, is what they do is they blacken the bottom of the wooden bowl using charcoal, and what they then do is use some beeswax to cover so that it's watertight on the bottom. And in many ways, when I was reading it, it reminded me of scrying. For those who are familiar with that, in the European pagan sense. Good morning, Jocelyn. In the European pagan sense, it is much like scrying. And so if you are of that culture, that DNA descent, it seems to me all indigenous people, and we're indigenous to somewhere, even if you're in the United States and your grandparents came from a different country, if you go far enough, you'll know what continent your people came from, right? And so you draw on that DNA. There's a reason why you came in with it. So anyway, this medicine bowl, the way some of the seers use it, to me is very, very much like scrying, because they will do ceremony with it and they will fill it with water and they will look into the depth, into the dark depth of it, to read the answer to their question, what they're looking for. Wish more people would come. Love you. Well, I tell you what, I don't know, what I wanted to do was just to share the information from the card draw. I haven't treated it like an actual show. I don't do any promotion around it. If you'd like, you can share it with one other person, somebody that you might think would be interested, in hearing the information and just spending a little time together in the morning to talk about the card draw and the information behind it. Kind of like a word of mouth kind of thing, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'll ever turn it into a full-blown formal show. I kind of like it being kind of informal, and it's kind of like we're sitting around the dining room table or in the living room, or maybe in my sunroom or here at the academy, and we all have our coffee and our tea, and we're just sharing about information from the card draw and how it can affect our day as our day unfolds, right? And why this particular card again of the healing. Yeah, so if you want, you can go ahead and share it with somebody else if you'd like, the live stream. That would be okay with me. But right now I'm not treating it as a formal show. Yeah, maybe someday. And so Jamie Sam goes on to write about in the Seneca tradition that she seems to be more connected to, the role of the medicine person and the steps that it takes to go from an initiate to someone who is in full service to their community, right? And she says some of the lost medicine of our ancestors is returning through the use of the medicine bowl. Now, I have to say that we have the physicalness of the medicine bowl, that wooden bowl, and what it's used for in many different native cultures, right? But the spiritual medicine bowl, we all carry. We carry with us. To me, that's our spiritual heart. That's where we have all of our soul's memories from one lifetime to another, and having this physical experience through this particular physical body in the physical place that we find ourselves, that we call our home, that our medicine bowl travels with us no matter where we go, because it's our heart. And the healing part of this card, I think, and this is the feeling that I got when it first popped out of the deck, is last night on my formal show, Communications from Home, my guest, Polly Jo LeBay, came on, and she's one of our show hosts, and she has 2 shows, and she is all about healing the healer and working with our chakras. And we talked about our chakras and ascension last night. It was a fascinating discussion. I just loved it. But, one of the things that came out of that for me was that the validation, the confirmation that we are all on as Jamie Sams calls it, a medicine walk. I know it as our earth walk. And we're individually that we are responsible for learning and healing while we're here and getting our master's degree or our doctorate degree here on earth, right? And so when we focus on healing those aspects, those traumas that we experienced in this lifetime or even other lifetimes, we are healing the pathway, those pathways to ascension. No matter whether you go the route of an organized religion, or if it's a solitary witch pagan path, or a Native American path, or a Sami path, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we are focused on our healing, because when we heal those aspects of us, it's that ripple effect. It's that ripple effect. So we affect the environment around us. When we can hold that energy, that higher vibration for longer periods of time, and that higher vibration that we're reaching for is love, right? Love and joy. And so when we can hold that for longer periods of time, our environment around us shifts to that frequency, because it always shifts to the higher frequency. And so when we do our work, when we do our healing work, and when those life lessons come up, unfortunately sometimes we have to experience the cosmic 2x4 before we take it seriously and try to find the way to heal and to learn that life lesson. When we do our work, we change our vibration. We increase it. And whether or not we're consciously aware of it, Grandmother Earth, her vibration has risen. And she's the one who's leading this. She's a sentient being. She is a living, breathing, sentient being. And she's our mother. She's our grandmother. And she's leading the way. So when her vibration increases, in order for us to even be with her, we have to increase our vibration. Otherwise, we're not here. Otherwise, we're no longer vibrating with her. We're missing that vibration, right? And so, and if she didn't want us here, my goodness, she could shake us off like we're fleas. But she hasn't, you know. And for thousands of years, we've been with her. So whether we're consciously aware of it or not, our soul is leading us in the direction to heal our trauma, to be able to hold that higher vibration for longer and longer periods of time. And that is why we're here on Earth, is to learn how to do that. And so I think this is the reason why this card popped out again, because it was definitely in the energy field about healing. And it's not necessarily the physical healing bowl, but it's the spiritual healing bowl. It's the one that we carry with us all the time. All the time. Does that make sense? You know, that's the feeling I got. And last night before I went to bed, it was kind of a long day yesterday. I didn't get to bed until after 11:30. But I had picked up the cards again because that information was so interesting last night. I was wondering what my team had to say about it, right? And so, thank you, Jocelyn, for agreeing with me. These are the two cards that literally popped out of the deck, and they came out and they were face down. So I had to look at them individually. And the first one that came out was Rites of Passage. This is from last night because I was curious. I wanted to spend more time understanding the information that was shared last night. And it's about change. The Rites of Passage. And I'm going to hold this as close as I can so you can see it. It is a birth cradle, a baby's cradle on a red path, the red road, and there's an adult walking toward the scaffolding. It's a burial scaffold. It's sky lodges, I believe is what they call it. And if you look, there's another path. There's a blue path leading up to the top of that hill. And according to the Seneca, and actually to the Algonquin language group people, that would include Potawatomi and Ojibwa and Ottawa, the blue path is the spiritual path. That's the path that we're walking on our medicine walk, on our earth walk. Isn't that cool? I know, it's a very beautiful card. This card says so much. And if you look, there's that blue, looks like smoke coming up from the sky lodge, from the scaffolding. And it's got, I don't know, it looks like butterflies or something flying on the inside of that. And I think that's like spirit leaving that body. Right? Yeah. Interesting. So we were talking about ascension, and this is the card that popped out last night. And the second one was about the stone people. The stone people. And this is about records and knowledge revealed. And for me, stone people, they are the keepers of the history. Keepers of the history. Just like whales. And the really old trees, like the redwoods and the sequoia, they keep the history of what goes on here on Earth. And so I just found it interesting that I would get, these two cards would come out after the show last night. And then this morning we have the healing bowl again. And this is all about healing. And so my encouragement today is to discern for yourself what kind of the information that came out this morning in the sharing, what feels right to you, what resonates with you, and watch how your day unfolds and what Spirit brings to you through synchronicities, based on what you just heard, what you experienced, what you just felt, or better yet, what your soul remembers, right? And brings to your conscious mind. As it unfolds, and my encouragement to you is to consciously be aware of your path. And when you have opportunities to learn those life lessons when they're small, those are the good ones. Those are the ones that will make you smile and laugh and say, oh, that's interesting. Why, that I love learning like that, rather than getting the 2x4. And I've gotten both. I'm not saying I haven't experienced the cosmic 2x4. I certainly have. And I prefer to get them when they're small. Those life lessons. And also to really focus on your own personal healing. A lot of times, especially women, we want to help our loved ones so much because we do love them and we want them to have a good, happy life, healthy life. And so we try to do so much for them. And especially those that are in our children, and even our significant other. And we try to do so much for them. Well, they have their own path, their own life lessons that they have to deal with, and their own healing that they have to deal with. For me, I've learned that I got to take care of my side of the street. Is that if I heal a trauma, a mental, emotional trauma, that yes, it does help me. It helps me a great deal. But it also helps my ancestors to heal and also my descendants to heal. And I believe that in our healing affects 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And so our descendants may not have to deal with historical trauma. They may not have to deal with those kinds of issues because we did our own healing. We disrupted the cycle, all right? And we put it on a more positive spin, a more positive path. And so that's my wish for you today, is to take this into consideration and see how it reveals itself for you today. Yeah, Jocelyn's saying, I'm learning that the hard way. I know. Some of that has to do it could be just part of your learning path too. Sometimes what we have to do is take a look at our belief systems, stuff that we were born into, the Western culture, that kind of thing, and just kind of you have to kind of filter it through, and what's a truth for you and what isn't, and what are the ones that you just don't really understand. It's like I don't get that piece, and maybe that's where the life lesson is in that piece of the unknowing. My undergrad degree is in psychology with a human services emphasis. And I did a lot of work, formal education work, in separating out what was whole. And that is, in psychology, we take a look at the psyche. We look at our makeup. We take it apart. We take apart what the inner child, to take a look at that and what is it and how does it work and blah, 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 right? And we take a look at the adult, the present person, and then we take a look at the higher self. And we separate it out so that we can examine it and write about it and learn about it and, look at it 360 degrees. And I did that pretty well. I really did. But it was years later that I realized that I needed to understand it. That's why I came. One of the reasons why I came here on Earth was to study that and to understand it. But more importantly, it was the path that it took me down to bring all of that information back together to the whole, to the one, and put back together that once was whole, And the more I fought it, the more painful, oh my God, emotionally painful it was. Because I wanted to be that psychologist. I wanted to be that counselor. And but bringing it all back together and putting it back into the package, the container of the Native American, of my culture. And so that was my path. And once I recognized that, it went a lot smoother. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't have stuff happening, because I certainly did. Still do. But that sometimes we have to look at it and try to understand it from another perspective. And that's looking at it from a wider angle, right? A wider angle. So I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you guys are busy, and I love that you're here joining me every morning. I do appreciate that, and I will try to condense this somehow and put it on Instagram, so you'll see it, something coming from me from Instagram shared on Facebook. So I appreciate it. Tonight, if you're interested in the healing, if you're a light worker and you're interested in healing, because a lot of times we don't do that for ourselves until we get into a healing crisis, right? Polly Joe's show, Soul Connections, is on at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. And what she does is she creates a sacred space for us to work with our spiritual teams and to help remove barriers, blocks to our spiritual growth, or anything that you need to work on, really. That's what the sacred space is for. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, you know what? Before I let you go, we would normally have Spirit of Color show on Thursday night, but we decided to do a replay, and I'll get that posted. Minnie is in Italy and Greece, and Donna made the decision that, because she was lead host, made the decision that maybe what we should do is do a replay. And so that's what we're going to do. So Spirit of Color, we'll come back with you next month live, okay? All right. Okay. Bama Mina, until we see each other again. And tomorrow morning for tomorrow morning's card draw. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.